Hello and welcome this morning to this week's episode of That Engineering Chat. I'm very, very happy this morning because I'm actually going to be chatting today with my co-host, Caroline Hayes. Morning, Caroline.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. I'm live and in person today.
She's live and in person. Those that have probably followed us since the beginning, we've done many Zoom episodes, haven't we? And
Yeah.
we've done a lot of just audio only episodes, but we've never actually done a studio episode together. And the first few of these I've done on my own, but I'm very happy to have you with me now.
It's nice to be here.
Yes. So
Breaking frontiers with you.
yeah, exactly. So we've got an exciting guest on this morning. He's full of energy, full of life, which is what we like here. We like to keep it exciting at the front of engineering. And we're going to be talking to Rob, who is the director of Origin Engineering Solutions. And good morning to you, Rob.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Rob's like, we've told Rob he needs to get near to the mic.
The hunchback of Amsterdam.
The hunchback of Origin. Yes. How are you today?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Very good. Pleased to be here.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me on.
No, well, it's super to talk to you because we actually met, didn't we, originally at the EDS show, which is some of these we're doing for EDS Tools, EDS Reconnect, and that was the first time I talked to you, wasn't it?
We did. It took a while to get on the podcast, but we've met at a few shows now.
We have now.
It's good to finally be able to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely, in person, and recorded.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to be on best behaviour, Rob.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
So could you tell those listening today a little bit about Origin and, you know, bit of a backstory, please?
Yeah, so Origin Engineering Solutions are basically a software reseller.
Mm-hmm.
So we focus on providing software specifically to the manufacturing sector, and also do the support and training of those products as well. We try and focus on the design side of things, which is quite different to a lot of our competition.
Yeah.
So we're all about providing a set of solutions that product designers can use to improve their productivity, really.
And when you say offering different service, what would you say makes you different?
So a core part of our business is simulation software.
Yeah.
And if you look at the product development process, typically simulation is used towards the end of a product development process. So before it comes into production, you'll be wanting to simulate that's going to work as intended. But product designers, the people that are usually using CAD to design the products, they don't really have access to simulation solutions. And we believe that actually if you give design engineers simulation products, they can make better decisions earlier in that product development process. And actually when you look at the costs of developing a product, most of the costs are locked up in that early development cycle. So if we're able to help design engineers explore materials and explore ideas earlier on so they can refine their designs, we hope that we can speed up product development, have a faster time to market, but also reduce some of those costs associated with developing products. On the CAD side of things, a very saturated market, everyone uses CAD. We focus on specific use cases. So we focus more on manufacturing engineers as opposed to sort of full detailed design. So the solutions we pick and the customers we serve, we hope that we operate in kind of a niche that allows us to deliver quite a lot of value in terms of our knowledge and where we sit in terms of our products.
That makes me feel very old when we say CAD, everyone's using CAD, because I do remember a long time ago when that was relatively a new thing. Oh. That's showing my age, isn't it?
You are a lot older than you look.
I am.
Yeah, the old CAD cam. And,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so when you say you've offer some of that leading CAD software, what? Yeah.
Oh yes, you've got. Sorry.
That's all right.
So looking at your portfolio, if you like, you've got some of the main names of the industry there with ANSYS and Altair.
Yeah, correct. So
So how did you come to partner, or how did you come to choose those to partner with? What was the appeal?
well, I mean, they're the best in the industry for what they do, particularly in terms of simulation software. ANSYS and Altair are both, huge companies. The way that we work with both of them is ANSYS we use more on the product development side, so FEA and CFD, so stress and fluid analysis and thermal analysis. It's essentially simulating products before they're built to test how they're going to behave in the real world. So if you're designing a car, for example, you're going to want to go and do stress testing and all of that sort of thing. So we typically work with ANSYS in terms of that product set, and we also provide one of their CAD products, which is integrated in with their simulation products. Altair, we work with more on the manufacturing method side. So there's obviously the simulation of how products will behave in the real world, but then also there's actually simulating the manufacturing process. So if we're doing casting, if we're doing injection molding, if we're doing metal forming, can we simulate that production process so that we don't go and start a production run and realise that the parts that we're producing are not of the quality that we want. So there's two sides to our business really. There's design-based simulation to help them build better products and understand how they're going to behave in the real world. And the other side to our business is more the simulation of actual manufacturing methods. So the two solutions, compete, complement each other pretty well. And they're just the best at what we do. So we're very privileged to work with them, really.
And because I'm interested, because on your website it says that ANSYS Discovery is the world's most versatile analysis tool. Is that? Can you talk a bit more about that? You've covered some of that, I know. But.
Yeah. Well, so I think it's, again, if you look at our why we exist, which is to empower design engineers with tools. There's a couple of different components to that. The first thing that they need to do is to be able to deal with geometry, deal with 3D models. So a simulation tool for them must be able to allow them to create geometry very quickly. It must also allow them to import whatever models they want into the simulation software. So a lot of our clients will be using other CAD tools, perhaps not ours. They might use SolidWorks, CATIA, Creo, AutoCAD products. So being able to import those models is really important to them, and being able to manipulate that geometry is important. So the first thing is you need a very good tool in terms of geometry. In simulation, once you've prepared that geometry, you're then going to run simulation on it. But design engineers, they need to do it very, very quickly. So we've picked a tool which essentially has two modes without getting too technical. The first mode runs off a user's graphics card, which makes it very, very quick. So essentially they can create a model and run structural, fluid or thermal analysis, and the results will load within 30 seconds. So immediately they'll be able to see, is my design right? Have the materials that I've selected given the right outcome in terms of displacement, for example, in terms of stress. So they're able to explore that. But then you would typically go a step further. So once you've got a couple of different designs, before you go and put it into production, you're then really going to do detailed analysis, so that you then need higher fidelity solvers in the background. So we've got that covered as well. So when we talk about versatile, it's about the whole workflow. It's about how do we deal with our CAD data, how do we run simulations, how do we then edit the design very quickly. We don't want to then put it back into our CAD package to make changes to then run a simulation again. And once we think we're happy, how do we then go and use that high fidelity simulation? So we want everyone to be able to do it in one interface. We also want all skill levels to be able to use it in one interface. And that's important because you have the designers that will be very rapidly exploring ideas, concepts, materials. And then you will have CAE engineers or simulation experts that also need to carry that on further down the track. So if they've got one interface, we remove all of that communication, emails, phone calls, trying to explain what something is or what they're looking to achieve, because it's all on one platform. So that's what we mean by versatile.
Okay. I mean, I'm really interested. How long has the company been going? Sort of, when did it start? Because I'm interested in how that's, how it's all come about.
Yeah. So Origin's relatively new. We've been going for just over 6 months. But we inherited a client base from a former business called NGIT, who had been around for over 10 years. So new in the sense that we want to do things differently. We want to expand the solutions that we provide to our customers. We want to pick simulation technology, which we think is the future. But we do have an established client base of about 200 people. So new in the sense that we've only been going 6 months, but there is a history there and experience there to serve our customers.
So is it the simulation part of your business model that is the differentiating factor for you?
I think certainly we've tried to pivot the business more to doing more simulation. Traditionally, a lot of our customers are using the CAD product that we provide, and we believe the future is simulation. But simulation in itself isn't unique. There are lots of other businesses that will focus on providing simulation products. But again, it's later on in that product development process. So we're very focused on the design side. Who's servicing the design engineers to give them better tools? So we think that's quite unique. You've also got to consider that typically simulation tools later on in the process get quite expensive. And so you're left in a scenario where actually there's lots of small businesses that would love to be doing simulation, and they probably do have the skills to do it. But again, that large investment means that they can't do that. So we do work with larger businesses, and we do have reputable large clients that everyone would have heard of. But we are trying to bring simulation to the masses, which is something that hasn't really been done.
I mean, so when you say that not everyone's doing it, but how many organisations would you say are using that in their design process at the moment? Is that a number you can...
Not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
Not enough. Engineering.com, who many of your listeners would have heard of, have done research into simulation technologies and how they're used within manufacturing businesses. Only 30, don't quote me on the numbers, 37% use it in the design phase. So only 37% of businesses use simulation early on in the design to explore those designs and explore materials. And when you look at it by job role, so you'll have design engineers, you have manufacturing engineers, you have CAE engineers. Only 27% of people using simulation are design engineers.
Wow.
So it's low. And as I said, everyone knows that typically the cost of developing it's most expensive early on, because you've got lots of design engineers, you've got lots of choice, you've got lots of different options, which takes time. And if a business isn't using simulation, they might go and 3D print parts as prototypes, and that's expensive depending on what they're building. They might even do physical testing, so they'll pay a company to physically test it. So they're almost limiting themselves in a sense that there might be lots of ideas that might be good, but they can't go and test all of them. But if they had simulation software, then they could do that very quickly. They could whittle it down. So they could hopefully improve the quality of their products by exploring more options. In contrast to that, they're not going to go and explore and get down the track with a product that they know is not going to work. But if the design engineer can't do that simulation, how do they know? So they find out too late in the process. So they'll pass it on to a CAE engineer who will then run a simulation and say, oh, that's no good, that's not going to work. And then we're back at square one.
Yeah,
So,
because even when you get to the prototype stage, that's an investment for a company, isn't it, to get the first prototype produced, to then find it doesn't quite fit or work or whatever. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes I'll outsource the prototype, which obviously is a cost. Some businesses do have their own, 3D printing machines where they'll go and try and, depending on what the part is, of course. But that's all quite a large cost to a business when, we'll never get rid of prototypes. We're not suggesting that. Businesses will always have to usually, test it in real life. But it's about reducing that and doing things quicker.
So when you're talking about maybe the barriers that come up for organisations, you've mentioned their cost, but I mean, to me, it sounds like, okay, you might spend something at the beginning, but like you say, it's going to save money potentially. So is it education? Do people not know enough about it? Is there training for anything like this? I mean, what are the other sort of barriers that come up for organisations?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's perhaps a misconception of simulation software as being very, very expensive. It definitely can be. It can be. When you get further down the track, it can cost thousands. People think it's very expensive, but most haven't explored all the options, quite frankly. And simulation tools traditionally have been relatively hard to use. They have been. An expert needs to know how to mesh a part, for example. So simulation works by turning a model into lots of little triangles, and then the software is going to calculate those little triangles. And so traditionally you'd have to be an expert on that. So the cost of the solutions and the learning curve meant that businesses left it until right at the last minute when they had to do some simulation. But the technology that we provide is different. So when I mentioned it runs off the graphic cards, that makes it quick, but it also automatically meshes the part in the background. So you don't necessarily have to be an expert to be able to run those simulations and get some feedback. And of course, the CAE engineers that will be listening to this will be saying, well, it's good automatically meshing the part to some extent, but you will need some more control over it down the track. And that's fine. We cover both. But again, we're about, let's give designers tools that are easy to use to allow them to quickly explore their concepts. And then if we do need to do some more detailed analysis, we've got all of that in the technology as well. So, yeah, I think the cost of solutions are probably not what people think they are now. And I think people probably think they're too complex when actually they're quite easy. And I think probably a lot of small businesses probably think simulations just for the giants of this world. And I don't blame them for thinking that, because simulation products certainly can be expensive. And there aren't many businesses that focus on the type of simulation that we offer. So when they are going to lots of other businesses and trying to get quotes for simulation, it will be expensive because they're not focusing on our particular niche. So yeah, I think there's several reasons why people aren't adopting it more. But you mentioned earlier on about CAD. Well, actually, we all moved from 2D to 3D. No one's questioning that. No one's questioning that. So where are we going now? Everyone keeps complaining about the fact that prices are going up, which they are. Competition's getting fiercer. So what do? Well, we can be smarter in the way that we develop our products. We can do simulation earlier. We can speed up our time to market to beat the competition. And we can reduce the amount of mistakes we make. So I see that simulation, as I said, it's already there. People are already using it. But I think now, well, hopefully, we're going to see more and more businesses use it earlier on to unlock some of those cost savings that we know are there if we streamline that early product development process.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? And if it's an accessible product, then your return on investment's going to be realised a lot sooner, isn't it?
Well, and it is like we said before, it's technology is now going at such a speed. It's so fast that, like you say, you have got to be smarter about things. You have got to, you have got to think. It's about your processes, isn't it? It's like anything. If everything is moving faster, getting more expensive, then you've got to improve your processes to get a head start on any of these things.
Yeah, well, I think it's also, my background's I guess commercial, sales, marketing. It's not just about product development. It's about how do we win more business. How do we win more business? If we're an SME company, and we're bidding for a piece of work to develop a product, and I'm the buyer, and I have two choices, and I see two different companies. The first company shows me a simulation of the product that they've designed, and they will show me the strength of that part. They will show me when it's going to fail. They will show me how it's going to behave. The next company turns up and just says, between us, we've got 20 years worth of experience and here's a 3D model. Which one are you going to pick? So, a lot of our customers are actually using it not just to improve product development, but actually as a sales pitch.
Yeah.
People don't buy from designs. People want to see something in real life. Again, it's not just about developing better products. It's how do we win more business? And I don't think people are seeing that angle as much as they probably should.
No, that makes sense.
Is it something you've come up across with clients and, business? Obviously, you talk to a lot of people in industry.
Sure, yeah, I have. There's a lot of talk about the digital twins, and that all feeds into the simulation of products and how systems work and where it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And then that helps you, as you say, work out where your maintenance is going to be, where your downtime, manage your downtime, that kind of thing. So, it's definitely a movement within the industry, isn't it? The engineering industry. Yeah,
clients are getting more demanding as well. Clients want more for their money.
Yeah.
And again, they want confidence in the product. We try and differentiate ourselves by focusing on designers. Manufacturing companies can do the same. They can differentiate themselves by using simulation earlier on in the process.
Because as you say, it's all about time to market, reducing your development time, reducing your development costs. Which, if you haven't got to do various iterations, then it's going to be cheaper to market, isn't it? I'm going to move on from the ANSYS product range.
Yeah,
if that's
definitely.
All right. Because you've also got the Altair Inspire suite, also simulation products. And I was just wondering what the not unique selling points, because nothing's ever unique, is it? But what are the
What are you talking about?
They are unique.
Unique?
They're very unique.
Come on.
Oh no, you're banned from saying unique if you're in journalism school.
Okay, nothing's unique. You didn't hear me say that.
You can edit that
out. Carry on.
No, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on the Altair Inspire.
The Altair product, it's very, very easy to use. And again, we're all of the technology that we provide to our customers always goes back to, can a design engineer use it? Can they use it without being a simulation expert? In Altair's case, the answer's yes. It's a 5-step process to run the simulation. The technology is similar in terms of it meshing in the background, so you don't have to be an expert. And it's also priced, extremely competitively. The products that we provide from Altair are quite niche products. But some of these solutions in casting, for example, can cost a business nearly £20,000 a year. The products that we provide are half that. And we believe that, again, it's all about exploring design. It fits that bill. You know, I'll throw another stat at you, because I like stats. When you look at at which stage in the process businesses use simulation software, 47% wait until a part or tool fails. So they won't run simulation until it's broken. It can cost it, you know, a lot of money. If you look at the casting side, you know, some of our customers, if something goes wrong before simulation, they're looking at it costing £5,000 to £10,000 every time. Well, if you invest in simulation software, you know, it might cost you £500. You know, if you're averaging out the cost of the simulation and the amount of times you run it, it's going to cost you £500 instead of making a £5,000 to £10,000 mistake. So, in the manufacturing space, our belief is you should not build a tool and you should not produce any parts until you've done a simulation. Why would you? You know, and so again, it's focusing that on the design side of things. And Altair are very well known for having a very easy to use user interface, which makes it, you know, easy for businesses to get on board with simulation. So very similar to the reasons that we picked ANSYS, but this time we're looking at the actual simulation of manufacturing methods.
And what can engineers use if they're looking at casting quality in the design cycle? Yeah,
so that'd be a product called Inspire Cast. So they're all named quite sensible. So yeah, Inspire Cast, which is a product which will allow you to spot the potential defects. So, you know, they'll be interested in porosity, they'll be interested in things like shrinkage and warpage. So again, they'll be able to simulate, you know, based on the input, is that part going to come out as we expect it to, and if it doesn't, then we can refine. And we won't name names of vendors on this podcast, but you know, again, the solutions that we provide are sub £10,000. To do the same thing in other products, you're looking at plus £20,000 per year. Now, of course, you know, premium products, they may well have an extra few bells and whistles, but again, what are we after? We want to explore things early in the design phase to eliminate mistakes, and what we offer is perfect for that. And it can do more detailed analysis, of course, but again, 47% don't bother and they wait for a mistake. So we just want to change that and get them doing it much earlier.
Okay, that sounds good.
Does sound good.
It reminds me a bit of the early computers. You'd have everything bundled on.
Yeah.
And you'd buy the computers like, I don't need that. I just want Word and I just want email.
And
but I've paid for all the extra bits that I'm never going to use anyway. So it sounds a bit like that kind of model.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our customers, you know, we follow quite a modular approach. So, you know, we try and just give them, you know, what they need to start with. You know, I don't want it to sound like we can't service more detailed requirements because we can, but there's lots of CAD and simulation products out there. Everyone's competing for the same budget. You have to be able to deliver return on investment fast, otherwise the management team doesn't care. They're not going to buy it. So we need to pick products with a minimal investment which solves a challenge and will prove it solves a challenge, but also, you know, both of the tools I've spoke about today, it takes about a day to get people trained.
That's what I was going to ask about. So they're basically what they call out of the box, usable, and you don't need any special training, and you can just plug them into. Are they compatible with most systems? Yeah.
So just like all of the CAD formats, it's, you know, really when we talk about compatibility, we're talking about can we bring in whatever CAD model we want, and the answer is yes. And then how easy is it to train people? And it is a day. Now, of course, you know, you do have to have some grounding in terms of maybe your ability to manipulate geometry, but design engineers do. That's what they do for a living. So it's not really much of a step up for them to learn it. So yeah, typically we spend a day on site with customers, and by the end of that, they'll be able to run simulations. And of course, from there, that they will ring us up. They will need help. But in terms of sort of paid for training, if you like, a day, and then they'll move on to their support with us, where they can get further help. So they get minimal investment is what businesses are after. And if we are going to introduce a product, I mean, these guys are working. Their sole job isn't to learn software. So they need to be able to learn it quickly and prove a business case. And we hope that if you pick something with a low investment and you pick something that's quick to train, it's obviously faster to get a return on investment. And there are other products in both of the suites that we do. So we do see customers proving the business case, and then they build up and up and up, and that's fine. But it's much easier once you've justified that investment once to then hopefully get the management team to spend some more money.
And you also offer Inspire Form for stamping simulation and Inspire Mould.
Yeah, so Inspire Form is for metal forming. Inspire Mould is for injection moulding. Yeah, they're all, there's different defects depending on the manufacturing method that you're looking at, but the theory is the same. Whether you're doing forming or extruding or casting, you basically don't want to produce the tool or the part before you know that the manufacturing method's going to work. And that essentially is what all of the Inspire products do, very well, with quite an easy to use interface. So yeah, the defects are different, but what we're trying to do is the same. Reduce the costs of things going wrong.
And where is that used in a product development cycle? Is that like you're saying now? Is there a specific point, or is it different case to case?
It's the same. It's early. So if you think before a business goes to produce a casting or injection molding, I mean plastics. Look around the room, something would have been injection molded. A business has to buy the tool for that to produce it, and they're very expensive. They obviously have to buy the materials for that. So very early on, let's test that manufacturing method before we hit the green button to start producing it. Let's make sure it's going to work. I mean, there are other use cases. Sometimes with the best will in the world, something doesn't go as planned. So then they might almost be using simulation in the reverse. So something has gone wrong, and now they're trying to use the simulation software to sort of try and find out why things went wrong, and then they'll go and edit their design, and then they'll go and rerun the simulation to make sure things work. So I mean, design-based simulation, it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to eliminate every single error. But certainly doing it. I mean, why do we have MOTs?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it's. So it can be used later on in the process if something goes wrong, and that's fine. But at least have a go at doing it beforehand. To make sure that you think it's going to work. Otherwise, you just throw money down the drain. Really.
Yeah. No one wants to do that.
No, I'm thinking there's a lot of things I'd quite like to have simulation for in my life. That's maybe at some point there will be, but not just yet.
So, Rob, I also see you've got SpaceClaim in your portfolio. Can you tell us a bit more about that CAD product?
Yeah, so it's a CAD product. It's different to a lot of CAD products because it's a direct modeler. Lots of people, especially at university, would have likely have been taught parametric based modelers like SolidWorks, CATIA, Creo, and they're all based on some sort of history tree. So you amend the design by going through the structure tree. SpaceClaim is a direct modeler, which means everything that you do directly on the model. That makes it very fast. So it makes it really good for manufacturing engineers. It makes it really good for things like reverse engineering. So if we receive a scan of a product, we can quickly bring that in and work with that data and reverse engineer and modify the geometry. If we're a manufacturing engineer, we often have to design jigs and fixtures to produce products. So again, if we're importing a file, it's not quite what we need, we can very quickly make changes on the model, which is a lot harder to do on parametric-based modelers. So again, it is used for specific use cases. Anything to do with quick design, concept design, reverse engineering, 3D printing, sheet metal. SpaceClaim is perfect for. Parametric modelers are very, very good when it comes to detailed design. If you're designing something complex from the ground up, you kind of do need more of a structured tree. You kind of need each and every step of what's happening from an auditability perspective, and that's fine. But not everyone's doing that. We find that businesses that use SpaceClaim are able to do things much, much faster for what they need it to do compared to buying something that perhaps they've learned at university, or perhaps they've been using it for a long time. Actually, if they switch, they can often save quite a bit of time. The other thing that we've seen quite a lot is businesses forcing companies to subscription models, which is good for some businesses if they want to limit initial investment. But for others, it can get quite expensive. So SpaceClaim is quite flexible in terms of how you actually license the product as well. So that's quite attractive for a lot of our customers. And the reality is, if we're being completely honest, CAD systems they are advancing, but there's not, it's quite a mature product now, So having flexible licensing models and a low investment again compared to many of the solutions on the market is important, because CAD's just CAD. Yeah. Simulation is I guess a bit more interesting. CAD's CAD. I wouldn't say it's a commodity. Well, I guess it kind of is. So we just service very specific use cases where we know the product's better. But for other use cases, other CAD tools will be better.
I suppose where it's quite a saturated market, that's where it stands out, isn't it? Is that flexibility and the fact that you're not being having to, like you say, a subscription model and all those other things. It's going to make it stand out a bit more. Yeah. You talked as well about, obviously you mentioned some of the training that you can give and on some of the products, but software is a big investment. So what support do you as a company offer engineers to get up and running with these software programs?
Well, I think it starts with the sales process. Let's go back before someone's even bought a product. What we like to do is we actively encourage number one, that they tell us about their business, of course, and they send us some of their data if they're allowed to. And the first step for us is to demonstrate that the product will work for them. It will solve that problem, whether that's trying to speed up CAD or perhaps it is simulation. The next thing that we encourage is that they do take a trial of that product and they use it for themselves. And by going down that trial, they're almost sort of training themselves as they go already. So we like to, we don't want to upset anyone. We like to prove that it will work before they've even gone and bought something. And so typically, naturally, you have less problems down the line. So we put a lot of effort into that. Of course, when they buy the product, they get support from us. We try and keep things simple. We don't like ticket systems. We don't want, if they want to drop us an email, that's fine. But we're not going to make a customer log a support ticket. Talk to some AI robot. There's a direct line, and Tim is the other director. He's a lot more technical and smarter than me, but he deals with a lot of the support cases, personally. So people will speak directly to him. So we just like to make things easy for our customers. We like to be accessible. So that's what we do from a support perspective. And then, of course, we also provide the training services. But again, we like to keep things simple. If they pay for a training course, we're not going to charge them per participant. They'll pay a fee and they can have as many as they want trained, because to us, more people trained means better usage of the product. Hopefully they might buy a few more licenses from us.
Yeah, people know more.
Yeah. So, we're not doing anything magical. I don't think. We just try and keep things simple. If you need to pick up a phone, you can speak to us. If you want training, you can have it online. You can have it, on site. We just like to keep things simple. We're a small business ourselves. We care about our customers, and that's evidence. A lot of them have been with us for many years. So hopefully that will continue. So nothing magical.
Nothing magical, but very interesting.
Absolutely, it's a nice window that you've given us into the world of design, product design, and supports. I think that's half of the battle with software products, isn't it?
Definitely.
To help people innovate more, which is great.
And I like the fact that you started off saying that you want to empower businesses, because I think that's a positive way of looking at it. You give people more tools and then they're better equipped to go and do bigger, better things. So, thank you for telling us all about it and managing to stay close to your mic. Well done.
Did well.
Well done. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Obviously, we're going to put some links on this episode and we'll, make sure people can contact you that way. But also, what's the best way for people to get in touch if they want to find out more?
Our website, I won't read it out. I'm sure you'll put it as a link. You can ring us directly. I think also we've ran quite a few webinars on the products that we've spoke about today. I'll give you the links. If people want to have a bit of a look at those products in action, they can. And we're always at the shows.
Brilliant.
We'll be seeing you there as well. So
we'll be seeing you there. We'll be seeing you there. You can go on and have a chat with Rob in person, just like we are today.
We thoroughly recommend it, don't we?
We thoroughly recommend it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rob.
Thank you so much.
All right, brilliant. Okay, bye.
Bye.